looking at my hat today, wanted to have one more day in it. And I thought, man, were we grateful for the Giants and us to be able to have these hats on the game day, just because I think it's such an important thing that we never forget. Not just for the families that lost loved ones, but also, I think about a lot the first responders who didn't blink and ran into a building to make the ultimate sacrifice. And so I think about that a lot. And so I thought on a day like today, I wanted to wear it again, just to make sure I was honoring those who made the ultimate sacrifice for us. And we even got a chance to teach a little bit about it yesterday. We had a walkthrough where we were in Weehawken. You could see, right across to where the Freedom Tower was, and explaining to the guys where, 22 years ago, this is where a lot of shit went down, and 4 planes being hijacked and going into the towers. And so it was a good reminder that freedom ain't free. And although we can see the Freedom Tower, so I thought one more day on 9/11, a day that for those of us our age or my age anyway, we'll certainly remember. But for the guys who are young and the guys who are under 25, who might have been just kids or not born yet, I thought it was just a good lesson to, say, a lot of things changed, back then 22 years ago on this day. And so we just saw a lot of head nodding and knowing that's right where it was, right where you could see it. Different kind of history lesson than doing that from here. And so I thought that was good to do that from yesterday. So just wanted to mention that today, and while I'm wearing the hat one more day today, I thought certainly grateful for that, from the NFL and certainly from the Giants and us doing that. So I thought that was pretty cool. So all that said, let's get rocking and we can talk about the game.
David Moore, Dallas Morning News. Awkward segue after that.
That's okay. That's all right. We could change gears easily. Yeah, no worries.
But I think Mike was saying that the pressure rate was 75% last night from you guys, and that's like the highest he's ever been a part of. Just can you talk about the pressure you put over the course of the game?
I think what's fun about our group, it could come from a lot of different people in a lot of different areas. Whether we want to blitz or pressure or 4-man rush, and putting guys into different spaces, Dave. And I think that's what is fun about our defense. There's some guys that can make plays in different spots, and you've seen that firsthand. Being both at camp and at practice, and then seeing that some of the game come through. So I know Micah and others get a lot of the headlines, but it's nice to see some guys make some plays and some really good ones. Like I thought Bland and Adigizua really had some impactful plays in this game to make up. And what's fun about it is sometimes there's so much attention that goes to one player, another player may have his chance to shine. And so I think when you are able to feed off of one another, that's pretty much what that's discussing. I don't know what the numbers were overall, but affecting the quarterback is such a big part of the game. And so yesterday, obviously, score differentials and that kind of stuff factor into it. But I was certainly pleased. I thought mindset and readiness to come in, and we didn't miss a lot of tackles. And that's what I was definitely stressed about coming into the game, to make sure, can we tackle? And so we worked hard on it during the preseason, but I think we ended up with 2 missed tackles in the game, and that's a good number to start on for sure. So that was a big driving force, the ball and tackling. And if we can get those parts right, and our speed and energy and toughness right, then a lot of the good things will come. But those were 3 of the things that we just hammered over and over and over: the speed and the energy, the tackling, and the ability to go get the ball. And so when we get those things kind of all working together, that's when we're at our best.
And a guy like Diggs, too, who has the skill set of taking the ball away, but him buying in and a couple of the hits he had last night, does that just reinforce that all of these guys are buying in?
It does. I was really proud of him for that. It was a great hit. I don't think he could time it up any better on the one that Bland got the interception on. So, and then knocking another one out later. So it's really having a mindfulness approach to get the football. Where is it, and how do we go? We say the ball is talking. Are you listening? And what is it saying? And so we want to make sure that we're always thinking about that. So that's part of our game that we really want to emphasize as often as we can without putting ourselves in a vulnerable spot. You can't take a shot when you're going to make a tackle. You make the tackle, you make the hit. And I thought that's what it showed on Trayvon's hit that caused the interception. He wasn't going in there he was going in there to hit. And good things came from that.
Clarence Hill, Star Telegram. The goal for this defense, just talking to them, is being a championship level defense. This can be the foundation of a championship team. Clearly, you've been a part of that in Seattle. Have you had a win rate 75% before, and have you had a dominant performance like that? Can you win last time you recall?
I don't know. I just kind of like to be with the guys here. This is our best one, But as far as like looking back and comparing to that, I'm sure we had some good days back when I was in Seattle, probably. But that's what's kind of fun about just being here with this group. And I try not to go back, too far and go back to their different guys, different systems, and different stuff. So maybe if I knew now what I could have used then, maybe it would have been even different. I don't know. So, but I don't know that. But I do know that we do have a big, deep crew, and we roll everybody, and we roll in hard. And so I was really pleased to see a guy like Bell, get his chances to go make some hits. And I think you probably felt his impact on his contact. And so guys who had, some new chances to go, you saw more of Thomas in the game. And so seeing guys make impacts like that, that's what it's all about. And they're going to get better and better as they go. This is September, and you have to live through some of the, mistakes if there are, because by the time you get to, the end of the season, now you're really hitting your stride like you want to be. And so that's why I'm proud of guys like Wanye and Bell that, made some big steps yesterday.
Dan Toddarch with ESPN. Sorry to look ahead here onto the Jets game, but
No, it's good.
With-
I'm ready. Everybody else is too, so bring it on.
with Aaron Rodgers, you played him a year ago. Do you expect a difference because it's a different scheme, or is it some familiarity because he's back with Hackett, so you kind of know?
Well, that's a good question. I would say there's probably a little bit of truth in both those, okay? Because the familiarity of a coach and a player, you guys may have said that about me when I came here, a few years ago, and Kiki and some others were here. Okay, he knows, a little bit of Dan's system and what they do. So I think, yes, that's part of it. The other part that's different, though, is there's new players, new system, new, coaches to go. It's not just those two. And so, there's a whole scheme involved with it. And so I think, like most things, you'll get a better sense of how it goes during the season. But it's definitely good that they have one, before playing us, because I think that's where it's even a little bit more unknown.
Saad.
Dan Sadius with The Athletic. Sorry to go back to Seattle again real quick, but you had Sherman and Browner, and then Sherman, I believe Maxwell as well.
Correct.
When you look at Gilmore and Diggs, how do those two guys kind of, I guess, compare to how you're able to use your two outside corners and how it frees up other stuff?
I think it probably emphasizes the importance of the edges, where you're talking about outside guys who can stand up when the ball is getting thrown down the field. If I'm not mistaken, I think that might have been Steph's 30th interception in his career. And that's a big number, for a guy who can go get the ball. And Trey certainly has the ability to go get it. So knowing that there's people on the outside who really can track it and find it, that's a big deal. And knowing that if the team takes their shot, we're going to go fight for it as well on those contested catches. So outside, man, it's super important to have the ability and the confidence to stay and be in those places. And then also on the perimeter with the edges, those two guys are cousins, the rushers in the corners. If they can do their job so the other one can do theirs, that's when you're really hitting it on all strides. And so those are two positions that really need to feed off one another.
Nui.
Louis Scruggs, NBC5. Looking back at your two Seattle teams that played the Super Bowl, they had a confidence amongst them. Do you sense that in your defense that you have currently? And did that Seattle team ever have to shut out a game like your Cowboys had last night?
I think confidence comes from doing it over and over and over. When you're playing well and you knock it around again, you knock it around again. So I think as we're just getting started onto this season, it's true that we brought a lot of people back. So we didn't start, at the bottom of this mountain. We went, hopefully back towards a base camp where we can go shoot it again. But by no stretch is, we're just kind of getting rolling on this thing. So I think your confidence grows the more you do it over and over and over again. So that's what I'm looking for. This group is not one that lacks for confidence. I can, certainly tell you that. But what I love about them is their connection, their moment to really go for it for one another. And that's what I felt in the locker room. A couple guys were sick and just battled as the warriors they were. And so those are the moments that I'm looking for, to see their connection, how hard they go together. That's where confidence is built. It's built in the game. And so adding players into that, like I talked about Bell and Thomas and others doing things that they're showing, hey, I want in, and Gilmore's now part of it. And when you get those moments to keep reinforcing how you get it on and what you stand for, I think that's where the real confidence comes. And our vision is that we'll play better as we go. And there's a lot of games to go, but that's how I look at it.
Nick.
Nick Harris, DallasCowboys.com. Marquise Bell, his presence in the second level last night, it was almost instinctual. Was that something he came here with, or have you seen that develop over time?
Yeah, that definitely was part of why we wanted him so much here in the first place, because he has like the length and the size to do that. And when Demo was injured, there was really only one other person that had that kind of speed and striking ability, and that was Keese. And so when Bell gets in there, you feel some of those same type of run and hit factor plays that he can match up and go. And so that's why, for me, there was really no one else I was going to call to make that move other than Marquise, because I had a vision for him coming out of him that he could do the linebacker jobs. And so the fact that he's, just a few weeks in on the job shows what kind of instincts he has. So we're just trying to enhance those good speed and hitting qualities and put him down close into that space to do it. But I was very encouraged by him to get extended play time last night, some big hits, a forced fumble. Those were things that I know is in his DNA, and it was very cool to see those come out.
And then it feels like Wanye's been just a timely playmaker, not only on defense but on special teams. Just kind of talk about this.
Yeah, and so I think another player that's really pushed himself to develop. And so for him coming out of Georgia Tech a year ago, obviously we have a deep safety room, and so it was a hard position for he and for Bell to crack, to get in to go. And we featured them in different ways, but if you were Wanye, I don't think you could have better mentors to look at than guys like Donovan and Hooker and J.K. to say, okay, this is what excellent safety play could look like for me. And he has really pushed himself to get to that spot. And he'd always had good special teams value, not only just because of his speed, but he was actually a returner in college as well. So he's got ball skills and ability to see the big picture and see the things. So for him, I'm excited. It's kind of continuing on where the preseason left off for him, and that's what we'd expect. But he's a hungry player that's proving he wants in, and those are the guys I was talking about. That's where the real confidence comes from, is from playing and from doing it. And so Bell and Thomas are two to me that are showing they've got the confidence and the speed and the hitting to go, make plays.
John Michaud, The Athletic. You go back to 2021, you guys draft Osa to now. What has he maybe impressed you with the most?
That's a great question. He's always been somebody that could see the big picture and find things, and he would just go to any length to put the work in to get there. What I saw last night was, and I'll refer to the term as like counterpunching. When they do one thing, I can go back another, and that's what I saw from him. Outside yesterday, there was a pass rush done. He went outside. They tried to chip him. He came back under. That's counterpunching. He wasn't just going to stay to where the person was going to block him, where he could adjust and go and make the play. So he's always had the skills and the get off to go. Now I think he's putting the whole package together, and so that was pretty cool to see that counterpunching taking place. They do one thing, this is how I react to it. And so, but his work ethic and studying a film and going for it, it's at near the top of our group.
Can you know that about a guy in the draft process?
It's hard to know it, but when you did spend time with him, you saw how driven he was, how focused he was. He played a different position in college, so he wasn't an upfield player. He was really square and two-gapping, but we saw these bits and pieces that he had this very good initial quickness. It may have not shown up all the time on tape because of the technique that he played, but there were moments on his stunt and he moved that, man, this guy can really bend. We knew about his wrestling background. We knew about his arm length. So we said, this is the ideal type of person to develop. He's driven, he's tough, he can bend, he's got long arms, like all of those things. Like he could play defensive end. He's that kind of athlete. He's not as big as the other guys inside, but that's why it's nice to have a wide array of, wide butts, tall ones, long ones, fast ones. And so when you have that kind of diversity with the group, you can mix and match how you play them. And I think AD and the guys do a very good job of understanding what roles people are and then how can they really kick ass at their specific role.
John. Yeah, Jonah Chabad with WFAA. After week one, nobody overreacts to anything. So, speaking about the
I thought everybody overreacts to everything.
Yeah, so that in mind, and you kind of touched on it with some of the teams you had in Seattle, but I know you're also a student of the game, and where does this defense kind of look like it could be by the end of the season, maybe compared to some of the all-time greats?
Yeah, I think you are falling into the overreaction trap. All right, there you go. So I think as you're going, and honestly, it was an excellent performance, guys. The guys did well. We know that. We're speaking the obvious. But here's what I'm impressed. Like right now, that game's passed. We've done the film, we're on it, and we're moving forward. And so that's what I like to see. And even in the locker room last night after the game, it was cool, like it should be after a win, but it wasn't over the top. And it wasn't anything that, like we know there's so much football to play and what we want to be about. I for damn sure know one game doesn't define a season. And so you got to go over and over and over to get it on and prove that, hey, man, like this is how we do it. And so definitely something that I'm proud of for the guys. They're not looking at anything other than this week, this game, this matchup, and how we go play.
Jess.
Justin Barnes, Pro Football Network. Coach, can you talk about Jerron Quinn and the confidence that he plays with, and just his ability to be so aware of what's going on, especially getting that touchdown?
Yeah, I think at the nickel position, you really have to have hyper focus because the movement of a jet receiver, I got to be into the B gap, bunch formations, how do I go? So you have to think so quickly about what's going to happen. You saw him on a blitz, come where he got a hit, he got an interception, he made a tackle for loss. So like all of these different spaces that we're able to utilize him in, he really was ready. And he's always been that kind of competitor. And so it was never, ever too big for him. I remember his first game that he started when Jordan got injured. And okay, it wasn't like, oh shit, here we go. He was ready to go get it on, and he performed in that game. I think it was against Washington. He had an interception. So he's always been somebody that just kept getting better and better as it goes. And I love that he is able to play outside, inside. That just gives him more versatility for us. But he is a rare competitor for us, no doubt about it.
Michael Gilpin, Dallas Morning News. Marquise had a number of moments, as discussed earlier. I was just curious, which one, considering linebacker is still fairly new, which one really impressed you most?
I think the sound of his hit that took place when there was a contact, you felt explosion, you felt hitting, you felt striking ability, and so that's what I look for, from a linebacker or a safety who can come down and really hit. And so that part, that lit me up to say, man, that was a hit. And so knowing he's going to be in where the action is, and he is about that life, like that's a good thing. And so it seemed like a natural move at the time, and it's looking like that'll be something for us moving forward to go. And we're fortunate that guys like J.K. and him, who can guard tight ends and go out and play on guys, that's a big deal for us. So Mukuamo does that, Kurse does that, Bell will do that. Like there's such a diverse group of people that you have to play in the NFL that you better have enough size and length to guard different types of people, whether it's the long and fast tight end like last night, or a back that's coming out of the backfield that just has crazy change of direction, that's smaller and shiftier. You wouldn't think of the tall, long player to do that. You need somebody that's more compact and can get on guys earlier. And so that's the guys like a Donovan Wilson or somebody who would go down and guard that type of player. So I love that there's versatility, and I think it's really important that you do that, to have different people that can play against different styles of players.
To look ahead, also look back a little bit. Last time your defense faced Aaron, it was a very different looking secondary. You guys were without Jordan, just lost AB in the second quarter. They really stressed your depth at corner.
Yep.
You guys just seem like a night and day in terms of where you are today with Gilmore. How do you just evaluate today the quarterback group you bring into this matchup?
That's a good question. I would say, yeah, we were certainly disappointed in the outcome of that game. And but we also know injuries are part of, that's the world we live in. Having the depth and the ability to do that is important. So that's why having a big, deep crew that you can roll in with everybody is so important. And so we'll see what the matchups look like and how we want to do that as we get into the week. But, yeah, man, we're pumped that Steph's here, and now we've got Bland added to it. We added Noah into that group outside. So those are ones that we'll be looking into. And Jordan's coming back soon, too. So that's a good thing to have. I can't think of a much more competitive person than him. And so more cowbell.
Was your birthday present delivered last night by the guys, or did they save anything for this morning?
I would say last night, definitely, 100%. So that was about as good a one as you can get to get it started. So nothing wrong with being 35 again.
Last one, Clarence.
I still have a question, so happy birthday, Coach.
Thank you.
We're good.
All right. Thank you, guys. All right, see you guys.